I got the divorce papers by email while I was still in the desert. 14 years of marriage ended in a PDF attachment. I'm Ethan, 43, Staff Sergeant, 82nd Airborne. I was 5 months into my deployment in Kandahar when Lara decided she'd had enough. The email hit my inbox with a subject line that read, "Let's be adults about this." That should have been my first clue it wasn't going to be pretty. The message itself? Just 3 sentences. Cold. Clinical. She'd already filed. She'd already cleaned out our joint bank account. And she'd already moved her new boyfriend, Caleb, of all people, into our home in Spokane. Yeah, it hit like a gut punch. I read that email twice, closed the laptop without a word, and headed to the showers. Communal stall, water barely warm. Just stood there, rinsing the desert dust off me while my brain tried to make sense of it. Got dressed, reported for duty. Said nothing. Told no one. Just did my job like I always do. But when I got back to my bunk that night, I opened my laptop again and typed one word, understood. That was it. No back and forth. No name calling. No pleading or threats. I knew better. My bunkmate Wilson looked over, barely lifting his eyes from the paperback in his lap. "You good, man?" "Yeah," I said. "Just some stuff back home." He gave a small nod and went back to reading. That's the thing about military guys. We know when to leave something alone. Truth is, I wasn't shocked. I saw it coming. 7 months before deployment, things had already started to shift. Lara got quiet. Stopped asking how my day went. Started working late at the dental office, going to the gym 3 times a week, but always came home looking just as fresh as when she left. Then came the new wardrobe, new passwords on her phone, new friends I never met. I didn't accuse her. Didn't start checking her texts or playing detective. That's not my style. But I wasn't blind either. I made a few quiet moves, just in case. I rented a storage unit on the far side of town. Stashed important stuff there, birth certificate, marriage license, house deed, which was in my name anyway, courtesy of the VA loan, and my military paperwork. I put my grandfather's watch and my mom's old silver in there too. Things that actually meant something. Then I opened a separate bank account and funneled a bit of my paycheck into it. Not enough to raise alarms, but enough so I wouldn't be dead broke if things went sideways. The night before I deployed, she hugged me at the airport. Told me, "Stay safe, okay?" Her eyes were dry. Not a single tear. It felt like I was getting sent off by an HR rep, not my wife. I should have seen it. Maybe I did, deep down. But part of me still hoped I was wrong. I wasn't. What Lara didn't know was that I'd been preparing for this moment. She also didn't know one important thing about me. I never start fights. But I sure as hell finish them. You want to know how we got here? Let me take you back. I met Lara in 2011 at a backyard barbecue hosted by my buddy Jason. I was home on leave, crashing at his place in Spokane. She was finishing nursing school back then, though she ended up taking a desk job at a dental office instead. Said it was less stress. We were married 9 months later. Lara used to tell me she was proud of what I did, though I always got the feeling she didn't really get it. Her dad was a bank manager. Her brother, a pharmacist. Military life wasn't in her blood. She'd ask me when I was going to get a real job, not understanding that after 15 years in the Army, this was my real job. I had rank. I had respect. I had purpose. We bought a house in 2014. Modest place, 3 bedrooms, small yard, quiet street. Nothing fancy, but it was ours. The mortgage was in my name, but I added her to the deed because that's what husbands do. My dad died a 2 year after we got married. Heart attack while shoveling snow. My mom passed 4 years after that, lung cancer. Never smoked a day in her life. They left me a bit of money. Not enough to retire, but enough to clear Lara's student loans and build a little safety net. I deployed 4 times during our marriage, 2 tours in Iraq, 2 in Afghanistan. And every time I came back, Lara seemed a little more distant, a little more disconnected, like she was acting out a role she didn't believe in anymore. She told me once, I didn't sign up to be a military wife. Said she was tired of being alone. I got it. I really did. But the Army was where I belonged. It was the only place I felt like myself. Then 2019 rolled around, and everything started shifting again. Lara got short with me when I'd called during her girls' nights. Started talking about her friend Melissa, who divorced her husband and was finally living her best life. She began hinting that we didn't have much in common anymore. I brought up counseling. She brushed it off. "We're fine," she said. "It's just a phase." Then came more late nights at work. Weekend trips with people I'd never met. New clothes. That gym membership that barely got used. I should have said something, but I didn't. And that silence would cost me. But not the way she expected. I don't deal with things by blowing up. Never have. My old man drilled it into me early. Think before you speak. Be sure before you move. So I watched. I waited. Quiet. Because my gut? It was whispering loud. And out here, you learn to listen when your gut starts talking. 2 weeks after the divorce email, I was sitting in the mess hall, picking at something that used to be pasta, when my phone buzzed. Bank alert. Another withdrawal. $8,500. I set my fork down, opened the app. Our joint account showed $212. 37. Savings? That was the real punch. $47,000. Gone. Transferred to some account I'd never seen in my life. Murphy, a guy from my unit, glanced up from his tray. Bad news. I locked the phone. Nah, just some account stuff. That night, I hit the base phone center. Called the bank. The woman on the other end sounded tired but polite. She walked me through the history. Lara had been draining the accounts for weeks. Little withdrawals at first, then bigger and bolder. The big hits started right after I deployed. I hung up. Just stood there for a while in the hallway, watching guys talk to their families. Laughter, kids yelling in the background, guys getting told, "I miss you," through crackly connections. Life was going on. But mine? Mine was crumbling. Wilson found me leaning against a wall. "Alvarez said you looked like you'd seen a ghost at dinner," he said. I almost brushed it off. But Wilson had my back in Kandahar when things got rough. I owed him the truth. My wife emptied our accounts, I said. Moved her new guy into our house. Divorce papers showed up while I was on patrol last week. He didn't give me the usual garbage. "No, man, I'm sorry," or "you'll bounce back." He just looked at me and asked, "What's your plan?" I shrugged. "Not sure yet." He nodded once. "Let me know if you need anything." That night, sleep didn't come. So I grabbed my laptop and logged into our home security system, something Lara probably forgot I could still access from halfway around the world. And there it was. A strange truck in my driveway. Some guy I didn't recognize walking my dog. Using my mug. Wearing my Seahawks sweatshirt. And Lara? Laughing in the kitchen I remodeled with my own hands during my last leave. Something inside me changed right then, not rage. Something colder. Sharper. Focused. I closed the laptop. Pulled out my phone. Started a list. Call Steve, Army buddy turned lawyer. Review VA loan terms. Contact Master Sergeant about emergency leave. Check home refinance documents, something Lara casually brought up last year. Lock down my pension accounts. I wasn't sad. I wasn't even angry anymore. I was preparing for a mission. At 0500, before shift change, I sent an email to Steve, subject line, "Need legal help." Discreet and urgent. An hour later, I had a reply. "Call me. Secure line only." We talked. Short, to the point. When I hung up, I knew exactly what I had to do. No yelling. No threats. No confrontations. Just watch. Wait. Let her trip her own wire. 3 months later, I was back on American soil. I didn't tell Lara I was coming home. Didn't text. Didn't call. I checked into a no-name motel in downtown Spokane under a different name and met Steve 10 miles outside of town, at some diner that served burnt coffee and greasy hash browns. "You look like hell," he said, sliding into the booth. "Feel like it too," I said back. He handed me a folder. Everything we talked about's in there. House deed, loan docs, bank statements. And this. He pulled out one more sheet. It looked like a loan refi application, with my name on it. My signature. Except it wasn't my signature. Not really. The middle initial was wrong. The pen stroke? Off. It was a copycat job. Lara did this. I asked. Steve didn't even blink. 4 months ago. Used it to pull out $30,000 in equity. That's when it clicked. She forged my name. Took out a loan on a house she didn't even own on paper. Then cleared out our accounts. Then filed for divorce. Busy woman, I muttered. "It gets better," Steve said. She listed her boyfriend as a co-applicant. He paused. He's got priors. 2 DUIs. Fraud charge from 2019. I sat back. Let it all settle. What are my options? I asked. Steve looked me dead in the eye. Plenty. But first, you need to decide what you want. I didn't hesitate. I want what's legally mine. And I want her to understand consequences. Steve gave a slow smile. Then here's what we do. The next morning, I drove past the house. Our house. Her boyfriend's truck wasn't there, but Lara's car was in the driveway. I parked a few houses down, engine off. Watched for a while. Thought about walking up, knocking on the door, saying something. But that wasn't the mission. Instead, I drove to the bank, asked for the loan officer who handled the refinance. Sat down, showed him my military ID, then my driver's license, then the refinance documents, with the forged signature. The guy went pale. Hands started shaking just a little. "I'll need to report this immediately," he said. "I understand," I told him. "Already filed a police report." That night, Lara texted me. "Who have you been talking to at the bank?" Caleb said someone was asking questions. I didn't answer. The next morning, I was at the county clerk's office. Filed paperwork contesting the refinance, fraud as the reason. Placed a formal restriction, no legal changes to the property without my physical presence. 2 days later, Lara called. I let it go to voicemail. "Ethan, we need to talk. The bank called about the house. What are you doing? If this is about the divorce, we can discuss it like adults." Like adults. Same phrase from her email. Still didn't answer. That afternoon, Steve called. "The bank froze the refinance funds," he said. "And there's more. You still have that truck in your name?" "Yeah. Lara's boyfriend's been driving it." "Well, he's not anymore. Got pulled over this morning. Suspended license from the DUIs. Truck's impounded." "Good," I said. Steve paused. "They found something in the truck. Prescription pads. From the dental office where Lara works." I closed my eyes. Blank. No. Already written. I didn't say anything. Just let the silence stretch. "Police are investigating," Steve added. I hung up. Sat on the edge of the motel bed. This was bigger than I thought. Part of me, some old instinct, wanted to call her. Warn her. But then I remembered the footage. My dog. My sweatshirt. My kitchen. Given away like none of it mattered. There was no going back now. And truthfully, I didn't want to. Next morning, I met with the bank's fraud investigator. Thompson. Short guy, tired eyes, coffee stain on his tie. "This happens more than you'd think," he said, laying out paperwork. "Spouse deploys. Other spouse sees opportunity." "What happens now?" I asked. "We've frozen the refinance funds. But there's a problem." "Of course there is. How much is gone?" "About half. $29,200. I leaned forward. "Where'd it go?" He hesitated. "Technically, I'm not supposed to share that. It's my house. My forged signature. My stolen money." He held my stare, then slowly turned the screen toward me. "Transfer records. Multiple payments to someone named Marcus Hale. Not Caleb. Someone else." "Who's Marcus Hale?" I asked. Thompson shrugged. "You'll want your attorney to subpoena the records." I didn't wait. Called Steve as soon as I got outside. "Marcus Hale," he repeated. "Give me an hour." He called back in 40 minutes. "Got it. Marcus Hale's a real estate agent. Fast turnaround guy. Cash deals, mostly." I was already starting to see it. She was planning to sell our house. "Looks that way," Steve said. "The payments to Hale were probably deposits. To get him moving on a listing." He paused. "And here's where it gets interesting. Hale has a history with Caleb Foster. That's your wife's boyfriend, right?" "Yeah. They've done 3 property deals together in the last 3 years." I sat down on a park bench. Concrete. Cold. Hard. And real. "So this wasn't just her leaving me," I said quietly. "This was what? A setup?" "Maybe," Steve said. I looked into Caleb. He has a pattern. Gets close to women going through divorce or whose spouses are deployed. I found 3 other cases. Each time, the woman's house gets sold below market to one of Hale's buyers. Foster gets a cut. Then he disappears. And Lara. "Hard to tell," Steve said. "She could be a pawn. Or she could be in on it." I didn't respond. Because I knew Lara. Or I thought I did. But that version of her didn't exist anymore. This wasn't about heartbreak now. This was organized. Calculated. And it wasn't just me. Other military families had been caught in this same trap. "What do we do?" I asked. "I've already contacted the FBI," Steve said. "Financial Crimes Division. VA loans, interstate banking, military deployment. This is federal teeth." That night, I sat alone in the motel room. Beer in hand. Phone off. I stared at the ceiling and tried to remember the last time I felt at home. Maybe it was that morning 4 years ago when Lara made pancakes before my flight. Or maybe it was farther back. Didn't matter now. This was the mission, and it was far from over. I kept asking myself the same question. Had Lara been playing me the entire marriage? Or had she just gotten pulled into Caleb's scheme? Either way, did it even matter now? My phone buzzed. Another text from her. Ethan, please call me. The bank is saying something about fraud, and Caleb got arrested for driving your truck. I don't understand what's happening. I stared at the screen. No emotion, just facts. Then I typed, who is Marcus Hale? 3 dots appeared. Then stopped. Started again. Stopped. Finally, I don't know what you're talking about. I typed, $29,200. Multiple transfers. House listing. No response. 10 minutes passed. Then, it's not what you think. I turned off my phone and went to sleep. Next morning, Steve called. The FBI wants to meet, he said. They've been looking into Foster and Hale for months. You're not the first case, but you might be the one that breaks it wide open. For the first time since that email, I felt something like satisfaction. Not because the marriage was over, but because the truth was finally surfacing. The Spokane FBI field office looked like any other government building. Gray walls, cold lights, bad coffee. But inside, it felt different. Focused. Intentional. Agents Kim and Turner met me in a conference room. They recorded my statement. Collected every document Steve and I had pulled together. Your case helps establish a pattern, Patel said. Makes a conspiracy, not just isolated events. What about Lara? I asked. My wife. Ex-wife. The agents exchanged a glance. We're still evaluating her role, Donovan said. Did she ever mention financial pressure? Trouble paying the mortgage? I thought for a moment. She kept saying we were house poor. Wanted to downsize. I didn't see the need. We were stable on my income. When did that start? 8 months ago. About the same time she met Caleb. And the refinance. She never brought it up. She forged my signature while I was deployed. They asked more questions. I answered every one. When it was done, Patel handed me her card. Don't confront your wife. Or Foster. Let us do this carefully. I nodded. Understood. That night, I drove back to the neighborhood. Parked 2 houses down. Lights off. Caleb's truck was back. Out of impound, I guessed. Lara's car was gone. My phone buzzed again. This time, Maya. We need to talk in person. Meet me at Riverfront Park tomorrow. Cale Patamoni. I showed the message to Steve over breakfast. Don't go, he said. Nothing good comes from talking to her right now. I'm not, I told him. But I want to know what she's doing while she thinks I'm meeting her. At 9:30 a.m., we were parked across the street from the house. 9:45, Lara came out, got in her car, drove off. Toward Riverfront Park. Steve raised an eyebrow. Now what? Now we wait. At 10:05, another car pulled up. Real estate logo on the door. Marcus Hale. Caleb stepped outside to greet him. They shook hands. Laughed. Then went inside. Should we follow? Steve asked. I shook my head. No need. I pulled out my phone. Opened the security app. The cameras I'd installed last year, interior and exterior, were still active. Still connected to the cloud. Steve leaned in. You didn't mention that. Never came up. The feed showed Hale and Caleb in the living room. Hale had a DSLR. Caleb was pointing at features. Open shelving, new flooring, the back deck. I turned up the volume. Should list by the end of the week, Hale was saying. I've got a buyer already. Cash offer, as usual. How much? Caleb asked. $425. We list at $475. They offer $425. Everybody's happy. What about the husband? Lara says he's causing trouble. Hale waved it off. Military guys are all the same. They make noise, but they've got deployments, responsibilities. He'll settle just to make it go away. I turned to Steve. You getting this? He was already recording on his phone. Every word. I forwarded the feed to Agent Patel with one line. Happening now. 30 minutes later, the street lit up with unmarked SUVs. FBI agents in jackets surrounded the house. Hale and Caleb came out in cuffs. I watched from down the block. Didn't move. My phone rang. Patel. We got them on tape. Discussing the fraud. Intent to sell under false pretense. Charges include conspiracy, wire fraud, and attempted theft of property. You'll need to come in again. Formal deposition. Of course. And Mr. Briggs, your wife just arrived at the scene. Lara looked shaken. Standing on our lawn, hands over her mouth, watching as the FBI carried boxes out of the house. I watched her from down the block. 15 years of marriage. There were good years once. Before all of this. What happens to her? I asked. Patel shrugged slightly. Depends. On what she knew. And what you want. I looked at Lara for a long moment, then answered, I just want what's right. The federal case moved quickly. Caleb and Hale both took plea deals. They turned on each other fast, then on the others. Turned out it was a 3-state operation targeting military families. VA loans, deployment gaps, paperwork trails easy to fake. Lara claimed she hadn't known the full scope. Said Caleb convinced her I was hiding money, planning to cut her out. Said the refinance was his idea, that he handled everything. Maybe that was true. Maybe not. In the end, she signed a settlement. Heavy checkmark full restitution of stolen funds, heavy checkmark forfeiture of any claim to the house, or my military pension, heavy checkmark a sworn confession about the forged documents in exchange. I didn't press charges. Didn't want a trial. Didn't want more mess. The divorce was finalized 8 months after that email from Kandahar. No fault. Clean break. All things considered, it could have ended worse. The day the last paperwork went through, Patel called. Caleb Foster was sentenced today. 11 years. Fraud, conspiracy, identity theft. Hill got 12. Thank you, I said. There's more, she added. We found evidence of 11 other military families. Your case helped us build the pattern. They might get their homes, their money, because of you. I sat on the porch of my rental and let that sit with me. Didn't feel like victory. Didn't feel like closure. But it felt like something. I thought of the other men, deploying overseas thinking their homes, marriages, lives were safe. Coming back to find everything gone. I hadn't planned to blow up a fraud ring. I just wanted what was mine. But sometimes things go further than you plan. That night, Lara texted. I never meant for things to end this way. I didn't reply. There was nothing left to say. A year later, I sold the house. Couldn't stand to live in it anymore. Too many shadows in the walls. I bought a cabin outside Missoula. 2 bedrooms. 10 acres. A creek in the back. No neighbors. No noise. Took early retirement. 21 years in uniform. That was enough. I'd given enough. Got a dog. German Shepherd. Named him Scout. He doesn't ask questions. Doesn't lie. Started doing carpentry work for people in town. Porches. Barn repairs. Built a few bookshelves. Paid the bills. Pension covered the rest. Sometimes I thought about Lara. Steve said she moved back to Oregon. Working at another dental office. Starting over, maybe. I didn't hate her anymore. Didn't feel much at all. She made her choices. So did I. One evening, I got a letter. Woman in Fort Worth. Her husband was Navy. Deployed when Caleb and Hale tried to run the same scam on her. The FBI had given her my name. You don't know me, but you saved our home. Thank you for fighting back when it would have been easier to just walk away. I read it twice, then pinned it to the fridge. Some days, when the silence got heavy or the past crept in through the floorboards, I'd read that letter again. It helped. Last I heard, Caleb was still in prison. Hale too. The system worked, for once. And me? I was still here. One quiet day at a time. Building something new. Something no one could forge.